I'm trying to make this bathing suit work. It's a pink bikini and it's way too big on me, so I'm tying it here and I'm tying it up here, and the padding looks ridiculous on me. So I'm trying to take out those like half coconut puff discs that they always put in bikini tops, and I just do away with that, and I do my best, and I open the door and I run through the hallway, and then I run through the kitchen, and then I run through the yard, and I jump into the pool with the rest of my little cousins. I'm in elementary school and at my cousin's birthday party, and it's so much fun. There's a pool, there's a bouncy house, there's a clown. I am terrified of the clown and I won't go near him, but I think it's really cool that the party has one. And I'm apparently the only kid who didn't get the fucking memo that I didn't get to bring a bathing suit today. So an older family member digs something up for me and she hands me her pink bikini. And it's like a regular schmegular, full coverage, modest pink bikini purchased from somewhere wholesome and boring, like Ross Dress for Less. It just looks funny on me because I'm a little girl, but I make it work and I do a good job. And it stays secure on my body for the entire afternoon while my cousins and I try to drown each other in the pool, you know? And then it's time to take photos and cut the cake and sing happy birthday. So the kids gotta get out of the pool, get dried off, and get dressed. So as I'm getting out of the pool, I notice these three men. And I don't know these men, they're from like the other side of the family, like my aunt's side of the family. And they're sitting side by side next to the entrance of the bouncy house, facing the pool. And I noticed them as I'm walking across the yard. And they're staring at me. And even though I'm so little, I know why these men are staring at me. And it makes me feel icky and naked, and I don't like it. And it happened so quickly, that moment of me just noticing them staring at me and instantly feeling so violated. And I'm not the only one who noticed these men gawking at me. My grandma sees that shit and pulls me to the side immediately. And my grandma's not a loud person. She's not a yeller. She's not like that. But that day, it felt like she was yelling at me. That day, it felt like a completely different person was talking to me. And she was chastising me. She was chastising me because me, running around in a pink bikini with my 8-year-old body, was making these men stare, and I needed to stop. Well, it's like my whole world stopped that day. Because I was just a kid a second ago. And now I'm no longer a child. I'm a body that needs to be policed. And as an adult, I'm pissed that I was told that. But as a kid, you really do feel like you deserve those ugly feelings of guilt and shame and embarrassment. And I know my grandma, in her own way, was just trying to protect me and keep me safe. But I wish somebody had done a better job that day. And it's an unfortunate experience that every little girl goes through at some point in her childhood. I have 2 more stories for you, but I dedicate this story, Pink Bikini, to everybody in the room who used to be a little girl. Hola, mi nombre es Francisca y... No, I speak English. My name is Francisca, and I think I found a dead body. I'm on 4th Street and Pumice Avenue, and Yeah, I was walking this morning and I saw him laying there, and I just came back and he hasn't moved. So can someone please come? No, mija, I'm alone. This is a dirt lot. There's no buildings here. There's nobody here. It's just me and him. Okay, I won't get closer, but I'll stay here with him until the police arrive. Thank you. Francisca had to make that call on the morning of July 15th, 2020. And while finding a dead body is nobody's cup of tea, it was a particularly unwelcome experience for Francisca because she had been grieving a pretty deep loss at this point. Her and her family had been expecting a baby and painted the nursery. And at 8 months pregnant, Francisca had a miscarriage. And it was so difficult trying to grieve during the lockdown. What a scary time to try and grieve such a personal loss. So she started going on these morning walks, and they were therapeutic for her. And so she found a dead guy, and she had to make that call. And the police came and confirmed with her that, yeah, he was dead. But we fast forward 1 month. And Francisca is actually having a pretty good day. She's having a good day because she found her favorite shop that she thought had closed during the lockdown, but it just moved to a new location. And this shop, it's owned by a woman named Maria. And Maria owns what's called a botanica. So she sells like altar candles and incense and palo santo and oils and like all the supplies that señoras use to do their witchcraft, you know? And Maria herself was such like a pillar of wisdom and guidance, and Francisca had been her customer for years. So Francisca, ecstatic to have found her friend and her favorite shop, busts through the door and she's like, "Ay, Maria! I thought I lost you." And Maria's like really excited to see her friend. She's like, "Ay, Francisca! Ay, qué bueno verte, amiga. Welcome back." And as these two women were catching up, Maria, always being the intuitive one, notices that Francisca's a little bit off. And so she says, "Francisca, como que te veo triste. I feel like you're sad. Like, what is it?" So Francisca opens up to Maria about what she had been going through, how she felt like she never recovered from the loss of her baby, and she felt like death was everywhere, in her home, on the news, on her morning walk. "Maria, ¿vas a creer que me encontré un muerto? Can you believe that I found a dead man?" "¿Cómo que te encontraste un muerto? What do you mean you found a dead man?" Sí, me encontré un muerto. Hace un mes. I found him a month ago. I was walking, and I saw him, and he wasn't moving, and I called the police, and they llegaron, and they told me, yeah, he was dead. God rest his soul. Maria's face changes. "Francisca, you found a dead man a month ago? Where?" See, a month ago. I found him on 4th and Pumice here in Moreno Valley. "What is it?" Maria had the strangest expression on her face, as if she couldn't comprehend what she was looking at when she was looking at Francisca. She says, "Francisca, I didn't get the opportunity to tell you this because I wanted to hear about your baby and your family. But we lost my son a month ago. We lost him to an overdose. You know how everyone in Moreno Valley just struggles with the same thing. And one day they gave my son bad drugs, and he didn't survive it. And so they put him in a car, and they drove him out, and they left him there. That's where they left my son." And Francisca, I am so grateful that you're the one who found him. Thank you for making that call. Thank you for finding my son. Oh, and these two women, these two grieving mothers that had been reunited after so long, held each other and cried. Oh, and it was such a good cry. It felt so good to cry with a friend who knew exactly what you were going through. And when they had caught their breath, Francisca asked Maria about her other kids because she knew that Maria was a mother of 3. Maria says, yes, they're doing okay. My eldest daughter, Raquel, she's in Los Angeles with my grandchildren, so she's not too far away. Y la chiquita, my youngest, Nefer, she lives in New York, and she does theater in Brooklyn. Francisca, I would like it if you could come and pray at my son's altar every now and then. Ay, claro que sí, Maria, claro que sí, of course. Please remind me of your son's name. It would be my honor to come and pray for him. Oscar. My son's name is Oscar. Who found the body of Papa Lalo? Papa Lalo was my great-grandfather, and he was an extremely successful and smart businessman. He owned a lot of land in an extremely rural part of southern central Mexico, in a small town called Apolinga in the state of Zacatecas. And in addition to having a lot of land, Papa Lalo had 3 sons, and he decided in a draft of his will that he would evenly divide his land amongst his 3 sons. However, one of the sons was kind of getting like the best piece of land. And you know, this son, he had the best relationship with Papa Lalo, and even the son's wife had a great relationship with Papa Lalo. And these 3 were always doing business together, so yeah, everyone was getting an equal piece, but the golden child was getting the best piece. And this pissed a lot of people off, namely Papa Lalo's grandson, Roberto. And Roberto was pissed! He was pissed because that meant down the line, when he would inherit land from his father, Jose, he would be inheriting a less than piece of land. And not only that, it would have to be distributed amongst other family members of his generation. So it would be less than a less than piece of land, and that was unacceptable to Roberto, and he was in a rage, and so he grabs his brother-in-law, who had just gotten out of prison, and he lights a fire, and they get a bunch of booze, and they get high on God knows what, and they just fucking rage and drink, and they probably like pee over here because they're gross, and then they get so fucked up, they grab each other after hours, and they realize they have the same idea. And then the next morning, Papa Lalo was found strangled in his bed. And the details on his death are pretty hazy because there's no autopsy report. And that has to do with who found him that morning. It was Jose, one of Papa Lalo's sons. Jose, father to Roberto, that found Papa Lalo that morning. And Jose knew that Roberto had killed Papa Lalo. So he bribes the coroner to not submit an autopsy report and protect his son, betraying his father in the process. The biggest irony of this all is that technically, Roberto is not related to the family at all. Yeah. You want me to tell you about Roberto? I know you do! Okay, remember, they lived in a really, really rural part of Mexico. So merchants would pass through and sell stuff. And whenever they passed through, they would camp near the water at a creek. And at the creek is where all the señoras would come and wash the clothes. And one day, the woman who was to become Roberto's mother and a passing merchant had a very thorough laundry session together. She got pregnant, he moved on, and this is an old school-ass time in an old school-ass place, so she had to get married. So she married Jose, and Jose agreed to raise Roberto as his own, not knowing he was marrying a woman who was pregnant with the future murderer of his own father. In the end, the land never got distributed the way that Papa Lalo wanted, and whatever little wealth was able to be passed on was squandered in less than a generation. Really, what's left is the black and white photo of Papa Lalo, which serves as the poster image of this show, and the stories that my family and I share, and that I've now shared with you. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you!